So the park is back open and pretty excited. I haven't been walking around this park in quite some time, and it's not just because of the lockdown, although they did have the park locked up for, I don't know, past 3-4 weeks. It's a bit ridiculous, mainly because nobody's really thinking these policies through. If you actually put doctors in charge of some of these restrictions, they might make a little bit more sense. Like, pretty much every doctor agrees that getting outside is much healthier than staying inside. There may be some disagreement about congregating in places or things like that, but being outside in the sunshine is probably the best thing that you can do to prevent transmission. At least sunshine, disinfectant. I mean, that's pretty much standard for almost every disease, and even the statistics are reflecting that right now, in that almost all the cases are coming from people that are isolating themselves inside their homes. So policies like this, where you restrict everyone's access to public spaces, nature. Okay, if you want to say no communal grilling on the grounds, something that makes a little bit more sense. I guess, you know, you can discuss that, but one of the bigger issues that I see currently is the lack of discussion and censorship and silencing anyone that disagrees with those in power, or at least those creating policy. So anything like that would be a little bit disturbing to me. An example would be anybody that questions the policy that I just did. Why are we locking down the parks when most people would agree, most educated clinicians would agree that it's probably not a bad idea to get out and get some sun. So if you disagree with that policy, then you are censored, you are muted, and I think that's a really bad infringement on our freedoms. Not just infringement, but it's really bad for policy. If you silence your opposition, and the thing that stands out more than anything in my mind is CDC guidelines. Okay, CDC, maybe World Health Organization. They've been proven to be biased. They're run by China, apparently, more heavily influenced by China than any other country. And there is no worse violator of freedom of speech than China. It's maybe North Korea, but the effect of North Korea's censorship has a much smaller impact on that, basically what is a closed country anyway. But China is the big violator, and if they're running the World Health Organization, maybe even the CDC, I don't know, I haven't read that, but you know, for organizations to choose, specifically social media, news outlets, media in general, if any of these organizations are going to choose who is the source of information, who is the person that is disseminating the right facts, when you do that, you limit the debate in any sense of the word, limiting debate, limiting your opposition is extremely dangerous. And I'm not saying we should allow, well, I guess I am. I mean, even extremists like, God, what's his name? He's out of my mind so much now. I can't remember his name. The screaming guy that talks like this. Alex Jones. I mean, you have to allow madmen like Alex Jones to participate in the conversation. When you decide that Alex Jones is not allowed, then, you know, I don't like him. Most of the rational world doesn't like him. But anytime that you raise that issue of censorship, you are threatening the discussion. Anytime you censor your opponent, you threaten freedom of speech. And freedom of speech now appears to be a extremely modified version of freedom of speech. As long as I agree with your speech, you are free to say what you like. But if I don't agree with it, or if your speech comes from a questionable source, or anything like that, there's a danger to censorship. There always has been, there always will be. Anytime you censor opposition, number one, I think you make your point weaker. Number two, their media is controlled by a narrow group of people with power, influence, and money, and that's changing, but it's changing very slowly. And the biggest problem is the everyday guy like me has access to platforms that allow us to cheaply and efficiently spread our ideas. Like this video is a really good example. This has the potential to reach millions of people. Probably won't reach more than 100, but in reality, the potential is there. The potential, if my message is profound enough and clicks with enough people, this message could go around the world and have profound influence. You measure that with the ability of somebody like me to garner national attention, or even a regional attention. Something like the local news. How do I get my message on the local news even? The smallest media outlet that I can think of outside social platforms is local newspaper, local TV station. How would I go about getting my message onto those platforms? What's the odds of me reaching 10 or 20 people? Probably the reach of this video at this point. 10, 20, 30 people maybe. If everybody that watches this video shares it with 2 people, I may break 100. But still, what is my chance of getting to 100 people on the local news or in the local newspaper? What is my chance of standing up on a soapbox in the middle of a crowd with my bullhorn? I actually have a bullhorn. Thanks, Chris. What are the chances of me garnering the attention of 100 individuals? I guess I have to have a really good elevator speech and be in the right crowd. Maybe I just need to get some bricks and some Molotov cocktails and start burning shit. Maybe that's what's going to get me attention, because that's obviously what's getting the world's attention right now, or at least people in the northern hemisphere. Americans. You want people to get your message? Go burn some shit. Go burn some public buildings. Go burn some private enterprise. People would pay attention to you then. At least, you know, your anger. You're going to have to wear a mask. You know, not just for your not just for your virtue signaling. You're going to have to wear a mask to keep from going to prison. Because I think the police are actually starting to crack down on crime when it comes to burning shit to the ground. Anyway, I'm ranting about my frustrations with bad ideology. That's really what it comes down to, is there's a lot of really bad ideology out there. And I don't know the best way to solve this problem other than address it. And, you know, if I'm walking around a park without my mask on, without my virtue signal, my flag of virtue that I'm wearing on my face, starting to get really bad here in Alabama. I think, as a rule, in the beginning, I would say 60 days ago, a lot of people were kind of like me, ignoring the national recommendations. I think maybe a few more people have gotten sick in Alabama, and maybe some people have gotten angry that their grandma died or something like that and started wearing masks a lot more, especially in the bigger cities. I'm in a small town, central Alabama, but you go to the larger cities, Tuscaloosa, Birmingham area, and people are freaking out and everybody's wearing a mask. And I got confronted at a grocery store yesterday for going the wrong way down the aisle. I certainly don't shop at that grocery store. I think that was my first time. I wasn't even looking at the arrows. I've been into one of those stores before, and I thought it was pretty silly because I don't do the whole zigzag up the aisle like most of the morons do, ever. And, you know, I go to the two aisles in the middle of the store that I need shit off of, and whichever end of the aisle that I'm on, that's where I go. So not only was I not aware of their policy, because they had little stickers on the floor, directionals, but I had a guy confront me, and it was not really to my face confrontation. He just made a loud snide comment as he walked past me with his mask on. I'm trying to remember the phrase. You're going the wrong way, like that. Like I just almost collided with him with my bugs. Obviously we have a different perspective on risk, but who has the appropriate perspective? I'm assuming this guy had some knowledge that I'm not privy to. Maybe he has his doctorate in epidemiology, but my guess is probably not. Probably he's just another ignorant socialist that believes the government knows everything and how best to take care of us, despite our overwhelming knowledge that that's not the case. As you can see, the modeling was way off, and it's probably going to be another year or two before they realize the true damage that they have done to this country and our citizens. And it may be a decade or more before anyone admits to the fact that they got it all wrong. As far as I'm concerned, this is obviously a power grab. You know, you can't get anybody's attention without fear nowadays. So you have to fear the plague, the zombie apocalypse, to get any kind of attention. And that to me seems the obvious thing that's going on here. Because locking down our country because of a flu outbreak should never happen again. And if you disagree with me, drop a comment below and give me a rational explanation of why you disagree with me. What evidence do you have that this is anything more than a, I wouldn't even call it a bad flu season, I would call it a semi-typical flu season. And if I'm wrong, if I have missed some of the evidence that you have, please share that with me. I would like to know. I am certainly not stifling the discussion. I would limit the amount of emotional outrage and outburst, but if you have a logical, reasonable response to anything that I've said in this video, please comment below, or better yet, stick a camera in your own face. I'll watch it. I would love to hear somebody talking just like I am to the rest of the world. I would love to hear, especially if you have a rational and reasonable response. It may be much easier for you to click record and post to YouTube, because this is probably the easiest videos that I make by far. Walking around a park, formulating some ideas, trying not to get angry. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes, I mean, I understand the emotional thing. I can get quite emotional too, which is why I haven't pulled out a camera in a while and talked about politics, because I've been pretty damn angry. But one of the YouTube creators that I watched, that I have been watching, is, after watching this video, I decided I could not stomach any more of her videos because of her white guilt. She calls it white privilege. I call it white guilt because I think it's completely it's a complete misnomer to call anything privilege. Privilege, as far as I could tell, comes from anything that's given to you. Your whiteness you're born with, you are not gifted with. So to share that kind of ideology on a channel about how to make your business grow with harnessing YouTube, and that's kind of what I told her. I just thought that was the most bizarre thing I'd ever heard. Is I want to help you harness the power of video to help you grow your business. But today I want to talk about racism and white privilege and how I'm guilty of oppression because I'm white. It's pretty bizarre. So anyway, that's all I got today. I feel much better. Nice quick walk around the park. Later.